Okay, now we're ready to place labels on our contours. And the first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and turn our points off. So I'm going to change the layer, and then I'm going to freeze my points layer. And I'm going to go back to this Modify tab, Surface, and I'm going to add labels. Add surface label. And the feature that we're adding a label to the surface, this is the same dialog box that we had when we labeled lines and curves for annotating around a property. We just have gone down and selected surface. The label type, we're going to label the contours, and this time we'll select single. Okay, say add. Oh, sorry, my computer is slow. Okay, so for major contour labels, we're going to use this existing major label style that we selected in our default template now. And for minor contour labels, we're going to use this style, existing minor labels. Now we just say add, and you can select anywhere along a contour, and it will place the label on that contour. So all along this line, the elevation is 132 feet. And so you can place a label anywhere on that line, and it's 132 feet. Right click to end that command. Now let's do multiple contours. Okay, and again the label styles are major for major and minor, existing minor for minor contours. Say add, and what you do is you strike a line across. Specify first point. So we're going to create a contour line from this point here all the way down here. And now all along that line it creates multiple contours that stay on that line. One of the things we changed in our feature settings in the template was whether or not that line showed up. Let's right click. Now select that. You can see that is the label line that is used to place those labels. And we made that false, so it would not show up once we struck the line and created the labels. You can turn that back on if you want. Okay, one other way to do these labels. Now go to Contour, Multiple at Interval. And again, we're going to be using the same label style. Let's add it. And it wants a line. So we're going to go that way. And now it wants to know the interval along the contour. The default is 100 foot, and I'm going to say OK to agree with that. Now I have a label line here, and then 100 feet from that I have another label line. It kind of ran into my other one. Well, apparently it's not a label line. It just created a label 100 foot down the contour, and it created another label. And it created a label here, and then 100 foot down the contour, it created another label. Okay? So that's how that multiple at interval works. There's one thing that I really don't like about the default style of contour labels, and that is the precision. The precision on here is at the hundredth place, but generally in contouring we put it on an even elevation anyway, so really it's unnecessary. So we need to change that precision to the nearest foot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is click on this button to edit that major label, and this probably looks a little familiar to you. Go to the Layout tab. At the text, we're going to click the content, select that component, and change the precision to the nearest foot. Click on the arrow to move it over. Say OK. Now you can see in this picture they've all changed to the nearest foot. We say OK. And on our drawing it also did. Now that was the major lines. Now we need to change the minor lines. Same way. Click on the content, 3 dots, select the component you want to change the precision, click on the arrow to move it back over, and say OK. Now they're all to the nearest foot. Much better. Okay. So that's how you do the labeling. This really doesn't look very clean. So I'm going to undo. Oh, I just undid my edit. I'm going to redo those again really quick. Pardon me. Change the precision. Move it over. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and change, and I'm going to add multiple contours at an interval. I'm going to test something new that I haven't tried before this time around, but we'll see how it works. I'm going to add it. I'm going to strike a line through here, and then I'm going to make it, oh, no, it didn't do it. I'm going to undo that. Let's change that to contour multiple. I'm going to add it. And with this command, you can go down the line and make bends in the line, which I think is kind of useful. Okay, and then I'm going to add another one over here on this side. Alright, so we now have our intervals and our contours. Okay, the final step is to put our contour in paper space. So I'm going to move it over to this paper space tab where I have my border and title block already inserted. I'm going to double click inside my viewport, and then I'm going to click on the Zoom Extents button. So now I can see here the size of it, and I'm going to try doing 1:30, which it might fit, but I'll probably have to enlarge my viewport. So let's see. If I make my viewport larger, let's Zoom Extents again. Change to 1:30. Okay, so it'll fit on there, but it is just barely fitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it. See how I have the viewport itself is selected and my grips are showing. I'm going to move it by saying M at the command line, and I'm going to move it over to this corner over here, close as I can get. And now I can take all this stuff and put it over here on this side. So also I'm going to make sure that my zero layer does not print. So I'm going to Properties Manager and go to the zero layer and say no print. That is why I didn't want you to put your points on that layer. Anyway, so now that box itself will not print. Okay. Uh-oh. I was afraid of that. We also put our labels on the zero layer, and it's not going to print, so we need to change that layer. And I don't know why. It should have gone on different layers, but we're going to just put on Topo, okay? I think it might be alright, but just to be sure. Okay, now you can go ahead, place your items. I'm going to show you how to do it, but I'm not going to edit the text of my border and tile block. You've already gone through that in one tutorial. I'm not going to do it again. So let's just move things around until they all fit. Place this over here in the corner. Actually, this will fit right. Oh, I'm gonna sit there. And move my vicinity map. Now I know a lot of you had problems with the vicinity map, and I kind of just skipped it because it's not a requirement in certification standards or minimum standards, and it's a little bit complicated, so I just left it out basically. But what I wanted you to do for the midterm was to place symbols around the section. So for the northwest quarter, you would have placed something here. And for the north quarter, you'd have placed a symbol right up here. In the northeast quarter of the section, you would have placed a symbol here. Does that make sense? So, and then also what you really could have done is scaled your property down to size and placed it on the map where it would have worked, where it would have fit. So if this were the size of the section, where would your property be situated on the vicinity map? But I chose to just kind of skip that part. So as long as you have the section corners on there, I think you're okay. For this homework assignment, we don't know where this is located. So you could just delete the vicinity map altogether, and I would be perfectly fine with that. So once you edit all your text, you should have a lovely contour surface just like this, and be sure to change the surface scale to whatever it is you selected when you were in your model space. Okay? Alright, good luck.